Hi, Chris.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, you.
It's so funny being with you because it's like we know each other for so long. But we're going to talk about the duet / trio that you choreographed. Trio. Called Bodies to Jing. I find that so weird.
B-O-D's. Touch. I-ng.
What was that? How did you figure that out?
Part of me just wanted a creative title. Also, zero or the circle and the line are like the things used in like the male and female sign.
Oh, totally.
Right. If you know about like computers stuff, everything is programmed with zeros and ones in like the world. I don't really know like about it, but everything's made up of zeros and ones.
Yeah.
And also OI is the initials of a bone disease that I have, osteogenesis imperfecta.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so like the OI is like me.
Yeah. Very cool. And
the result of the duet within the trio.
Oh, okay. So the concept of the duet / trio is mostly from your own experience as a person?
Personal experiences.
Yeah.
So it actually started in our improv class.
Okay.
I think we were told to do an exercise about that comes from a personal place, or I forget what the prompt was, but
with Kate?
Yeah, or like following a narrative, and I chose to do a personal experience.
Oh, cool.
And I did the sequence of 8 that Mike does with his fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I did that, and that comes from a memory that I had of my parents going through their divorce. And so that was like what stemmed that whole duet is like that count of 8 and then that idea that I hadn't even like thought of in the beginning.
Did it come from the music? Did that help you?
Yeah, and then the music, I've been wanting to do it since like 3 years ago.
No way.
I found it when we were in first year. And
it's really beautiful.
And I showed Jake and he said, you know what, like he didn't even know, like I just wanted to use the music, but I had no idea what I wanted to do with it because it's like super powerful music.
It is, yeah.
And like I wanted to, like match that. And I showed Jake and he just told me like, I don't think this is the time for it. And we were in second year approaching on choreo.
Oh, gotcha.
And he was like, I don't think this is the time for it. And I was like, okay, like that's the sign that I need. So I didn't do it and then wanted to bring it back this year, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, and like with the music, is the text also part of it, or did you add that in?
The text is part of it. It's Philip Glass, the composer, and it's part of postmodern opera that he created. Whoa. So it has like 25 tracks on the album.
No way.
And they're all kind of like that.
The same sort of like it. Like when I was listening to it and watching the dancers, like it almost brings a little sense of like anxiety to it because of the counting.
Yeah.
And then you hear the text and like, Carlene's dancing and Mike's dancing and then you see Rumi with this violin and you kind of feel like you actually settle into it a bit more as like the text comes in.
It's super like unnerving and you almost get tired of it. Like I even watching it like towards the end, like I thought like the counting goes on a bit too long.
Oh, okay.
You know, and it puts you in like a state of, okay, I get it, what comes next, so that when that musical change happens, it's super like relieving because you're finally like out of there. It's kind of like torture. Like, when it stops, it's like quiet and it's like, it's nice.
Yeah.
I like that music change.
Yeah. And as the music changes and the violin comes in, we see Rumi slowly lifting up his bow. What is the inspiration for that? How did that come about?
I don't know how it got into my head.
Yeah.
But I thought, I think I was just sitting there and I thought, I just see a guy dressed in a all black suit, super dimly lit in the back, holding a violin. And I just thought of that. It probably came from the violin that was in the music. And I just thought of that picture and I didn't even give it a meaning. I just saw that aesthetically, I pictured it on a big stage, aesthetically from far, it it would give it that extra like texture and layer.
It would be nice too, yeah, if it was farther away.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it would also be, it would go with the change of music, and then I was like, shit, I have to find a violin, which was a struggle.
Yeah.
And then I thought of him kind of slowly lifting his hand up onto playing the violin.
But then he doesn't.
But then he doesn't play the violin, and it
Oh.
kind of, and it goes with the words, impossible, you say.
Okay.
And then that's where the track ends. And then he, I mean, with the lights and everything, he basically just touches the violin with the bow.
That's really powerful.
And like when I put that there, I didn't know what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted that there, like visually and aesthetically. And then kind of like with the rest of my movement, like I didn't have a meaning going into it. I had like a theme that was driving me, but I didn't have, when I was choreographing the movements, I didn't have specific intentions for every single movement. Sorry, everything kind of came afterwards.
Okay.
Like I did stuff, saw it, and then afterwards realized what it meant, which was super interesting.
Yeah, because then you kind of reflect on it rather than worrying about giving it meaning. And I mean, as an audience member, like I could tell that there was something clear happening. It definitely is like there is a concept or some kind of emotional drive to it, but it's not really clear, and so you kind of, you're still with it, you're still engaged, but you don't have to be like, oh, this is what this is about.
Yeah.
And I wonder if maybe that's sort of just how a lot of relationships end up happening.
Right.
Right? Like you don't really know what's going to happen, but you just go in and you're like, oh, okay, this is meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not clear.
Right.
What is missing or what is, too much there. And that's when, if things aren't clear, then they're not at their full potential. Right.
Yes.
And so, as I was reflecting on the piece, the violin, it doesn't have strings and it's broken. It's chipped. And so even if he wanted to play the violin, he couldn't. So I think that signified a love that isn't possible. Even if you tried, it was just never meant to be. But from the journey, you have to go through the journey of the bow starting at the bottom all the way to the top to realize that you can't play it.
Totally.
So,
interesting. And like Rumi for me, because he's in a dark suit, because sort of his gaze was very intense.
Dark features and facial hair and long hair, black hair.
And you said like dim light, like it did feel kind of like there's like that monster in the back. Like I was kind of giving him meaning. Right. But maybe I didn't need to,
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just thought of this now. Like you said monster in the back. To me, I think like an omnipresent God, if you want. Someone who knows all.
Yeah, because he's definitely not on the same level as Mike Carr. I think he's somewhere above.
Yeah. So maybe he knows what those two are doing. Whoa. Or he's like carving their path through their stories. Cool.
It's so fun to look back.
It is.
Like, and because especially since we're also in the show, we don't really get to take time for each piece. Yeah. Because it's kind of an overall show. Yeah. Like, there are different pieces and different like emotions that are in each piece, but overall, I think the show sort of is just on one line. Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, would you want to remount it and put it in a different setting?
Yeah, I don't know. Since I've had time to reflect on it, I've been reflecting on it a lot, and it's definitely something that I think I want to make part of a bigger work. So I think this is just the beginning of that.
Would you see it as like a film or something?
Actually, I want to make it a film. Yeah? Yeah.
Because I feel like that's sort of where you're headed a lot.
Yeah, like I want to make it a film versus a dance video. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like an actual, not like movement. Yeah. But like a story. Like
a film. I'm just thinking about that, doing that this summer. Cool. But yeah, a film, and I want to expand it. I have like a solo for Rumi in mind, you know, because maybe like prior or post.
Okay.
You know, how did he get there, and like what's he gonna do once he realizes he can't play the violin? Yeah, and then I have a solo for Mike in mind, and then I think I might try to develop it into a bigger work.
Yeah,
possibly
I can see
next
that.
year.
It also kind of feels like more people could be involved. Not so much maybe during it, but like you say, like prior or after.
Yeah.
Like it kind of feels like a little interlude. This trio. I don't know.
Yeah, interlude. I like that. Or I'm thinking prologue or interlude. But I had like this is how I work. I have one image in my head right now. Like I want to extend this, but I have one image right now, and it's just like a clump, like a large group of people in the back in like the same lighting that Rumi was, and Mike would be doing a solo, and that I just have that visual image, and that's all I have right now. But that's kind of what like drives me to
and that's
to create
somewhere to start.
Exactly,
right? Like, and it can go wherever it can. I mean, next year we've got Springworks, which is like a longer length piece.
Yeah.
And I like even for me, I've been personally thinking about like what would I do with 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes already felt like sometimes a little bit too long to fill.
Yeah.
And if you don't really have like, I mean, if you have an understanding, like a concept that you want to do, you've got this image, like you say, like, do you keep that image and let it expand, or do you have an image that is not really like set in place yet?
Yeah.
And maybe the process will help you figure out exactly what that is. I don't know how you work.
Yeah, I think
how was the process with Car and Mike and
it was super on the spot. Like other than that count of 8 that I had made, I didn't prepare anything, and I didn't go into the studio with specific ideas. I knew that I wanted a solo and a duet part, a partnering section.
Was it very influenced by the three of them? Like, did you?
So on top of that, I knew what the like overall theme was, and I just went into the studio and I said, I'm just gonna move and just do what I'm doing, but don't do it exactly like I'm doing.
Okay.
I actually, when I started creating with Carlene, I told her, you're not allowed to ask me questions. Like I'm gonna move and do what I'm doing, but you can't ask me questions because I don't care where your head is or if I put my arm here, and I don't care about all those things because I didn't want to impose my version of what I'm doing on her because that's not like authentic, that word, but that wouldn't be her version of this story, so it wouldn't translate that way.
Okay.
So I wanted her to make it her own so that she could feel it her own and then translate her own to the audience.
Yeah. Because I feel like if it was me, I would be totally upset because it's like you want to ask the choreographer.
Yeah.
But maybe then.
But I don't. Yeah, and I told her I don't care. I don't. For that process, I don't care about the movement specificity of the movement.
Right.
I wanted the emotion to come out clearly, and the intention of like through the movement.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Did the same thing for Mike, and then.
Yeah.
And then the partnering section was a little more specific.
Yeah. And then that's when they touch.
Yeah.
Bodies touching, right? Yeah. Like that's a big moment.
Right.
Interesting. Cool. Let's switch gears. What's your next project? What are you up to?
I'm doing more and more videos on YouTube.
Awesome.
I'm trying. I think I'm posting one tomorrow.
This podcast is going up like later.
Yeah.
So it's in April, yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be out by that
Cool.
time.
Cool.
Go check it out. I'm going to start right away working on another one. It's going to be more like contemporary this time. I think it's going to be a duet, possibly with another male dancer.
Nice.
That's what I'm working on right now. That's about it.
Yeah. What are you doing this summer? Like intensive-wise? Anything?
Nothing.
That's okay.
Getting a minimum wage job.
Trying to make money.
Trying to make money. That's the reality of it.
It literally is. Yeah. Not always working in the field, I guess.
No. Yeah.
I feel that too.
Actually, I have a goal because I feel like we've been stuck in this school place for a long time, and I've lost touch of quote unquote commercial dance.
Cool.
And I just did an audition this past weekend. I kind of got a reality check.
Yeah.
And it's great because now I want to be balanced in both.
Totally.
So I know what I need to work on. So maybe that'll be my goal this summer. Be more oriented towards that.
Yeah, like you're headed towards like film as well, like dancing in film, not just making it.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
In Toronto mostly?
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. It's like so funny to hear that, you know, like it just feels like from when we like met each other in high school, like we're sort of now like growing up and like realizing different things about like ourselves and stuff. So that's really like exciting, and I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
I feel like that's something that's gonna like really push you, and but like in a great way.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on.
That's it.
That's it.
That's
It's a
awesome.
quick one. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.